I love making these type of videos for you because it's that time of year again where Assassin's Creed leaks are in full swing and there's a lot of exciting stuff here to talk about and discuss. In fact, I'm going to take you through absolutely everything we know about Assassin's Creed Red or Japan so far, officially and of course, unofficially. And let's first start with the release date so we're all on the same page, because at the time of recording we don't have a precise date set in stone by Ubisoft since their official reveal back in 2022, but that doesn't mean that we don't have a solid idea on when it will be coming out, and I'm very confident it will be releasing this year, as Ariza Laganzad, business development and brand partnership manager, recently posted on her official Ubisoft LinkedIn account that Red will be the biggest blockbuster game of 2024 and that Ubisoft were seeking a sponsor partner for the launch of the game. In fact, in Ubisoft's Q3 financial call with shareholders in February, they stated that they will be releasing Assassin's Creed Codename Red in FY25, FY being financial year, 25 of course being 2025, which runs from the 1st of April 2024 to the 31st of March 2025, so within the next 12 months essentially, on top of the fact that they officially stated that the full year's lineup with the release dates will be revealed in May, including new details for Codename Red. So I reckon we'll be picking this game up in either October or November, as this game is another massive open world RPG game similar to Valhalla, which released on the 10th of November 2020, and it ended up pulling in a cool $1 billion, dominating the festive season, and is a tried, tested, and financially successful release window for Ubisoft and their AC games. So it kind of makes sense to drop it before the end of the year and not after the new year to compete with GTA, because they will be losing that battle 9 times out of 10.
You lose that battle. You lose that battle 9 times out of 10.
Now, two of the biggest leaks that have taken front and center stage over the last few months are the two main storyline protagonists that will be featuring in this game and who we will be playing as, initially leaked by friend of the channel, Jonathan, on Twitter back in November, and links to all of his sources and info for everything else I discuss in this video will be in the description, by the way, if you want to take a look. In any case, Jonathan said that we'll be taking control of a real-life African samurai called Yasuke, who was an actual real person back in the Sengoku period in Japan, and we'll talk about that setting shortly. Don't worry, we will get there, but he was a armed samurai who was given a wage, a sword, an armor set, and a house to live in by the daimyo Oda Nobunaga, which, if you've watched the Netflix documentary Age of the Samurai, you will be familiar with Oda's brutality. But to complement this African story a little more, Tom Henderson, gaming industry insider, has corroborated the same information here as Jonathan, and he's added to it a little further, where he stated that AC Red will also feature a female shinobi ninja protagonist called Naoe Fujibayashi, where she will be a mortal enemy against Yasuke at the start of the game, but by the end of the game, they will become allies and work together for the unification of Japan, coming full circle into one nation and not just a civil war of fighting clans. Incidentally, we've already seen a glimpse of Naoe thanks to another friend of the channel, the team behind Access the Animus, who spotted a promo banner of her in the LinkedIn profile of senior writer of the game, Pierre Bourret at Ubisoft. So this all seems legit to me, and I think it's fair to expect those two mainline stories here in this game. But speaking of storyline, this is an incredibly exciting time period for an Assassin's Creed fan for this kind of game to take place in my opinion, and that of course is Feudal Japan, which took place between 1185 and 1603 AD, so near enough 400 years of civil war between neighboring clans in different regions across Japan. Now, thanks to Tom Henderson and his Ubisoft sources here, he mentioned in one of his most recent Insider Gaming articles that the historical characters such as Oda Nobunaga, who we just spoke about, and Hattori Hanzo will be featuring for sure in this game. Now, that narrows that 400-year feudal time period to around 1530 to 1580, which is when these two were alive, and what is called the Sengoku period, and is considered a very historically significant age in Japan due to its warring clans, social upheaval, and long-term deterioration of the Asashikaga shogunate, which was the military government of Japan at that time. In fact, both Nobunaga and Hanzo have appeared in Assassin's Creed Memories, the trading card game back in 2014, and are canon in the AC universe, where Hanzo helped establish the Japanese Brotherhood of Assassins in the mid-16th century to combat the influence and arrival of the European Templars who just rocked up on the island, and then goes on to assist Nobunaga, unifying Japan, who also ends up obtaining his own Sword of Eden, solidifying his power in Japan. So I'm not surprised the team has chosen this period for the next AC game, as it ticks all the boxes of what we like to see in AC games, in my opinion. So positive rumors so far, but let's discuss exploration and the map that will be included in this game, as we do have a general idea on that as well, because Marc-Alexis Côté, executive producer of Codename Red, said to VGC that one thing that the team are pushing for in this new game is a more dynamic world that evolves around us, the players, including improvements in environments, animations, and of course AI systems, which are all the rave at the moment. He also refined this statement a bit more by saying that the Quebec development team wants the in-game world to show wear and tear as you walk through the environment in different parts of the storyline, which lines up with what Tom Henderson stated in a recent Insider article again, where his sources have informed him that Red will have destructible environments, which sounds promising, which will allow us, the players, to break anything that we could break in real life, like slashing apart Japanese screen doors, for example. Now, Jonathan went on to mention that the map itself will be bigger than Valhalla's, but smaller than Odyssey's, with the total landmass of Valhalla coming in at approximately 171 kilometers squared and Odyssey's at 145 kilometers squared, excluding any sea exploration on that, by the way. So it's another big boy-sized map, it seems, which is either positive or negative, depending upon your own opinion, as it's likely to incorporate a large amount of Japan, which is great for you explorers, but that also opens up the risk of there being large amounts of areas in this game which are wonderful to look at, but which are also kind of empty, which is what Valhalla suffered a lot from. But let's wait and see if they've taken that open world feedback on board for this next game. Now, if you are enjoying this video so far, please do leave a very swift like down below. And if you do end up giving the game a go, please do consider using the AndyReloads credit code at Ubisoft's checkout, because you will get 1 penny or 1 cent off your purchase, which I know is an absolutely banging deal. But jokes aside, genuinely, thanks very much for your support. I honestly really appreciate it. Now, let's talk about weapons and gadgets for this game, because Jonathan went on to say that Naoe, the female shinobi ninja, will be able to use a kunai as what we can assume will be a stealthy Japanese throwing knife or projectile to assassinate enemies at range. The most recent iteration of that mechanic on display in Assassin's Creed Mirage, of course, via Basim, as well as Naoe also being able to throw down smoke bombs to cover our escape or assassinate the enemies in that smoke, and bells, which are then thrown to distract the enemy to a specific location, similar to the noisemakers, I'm assuming, from Mirage, as you can see here. And finally, the shuriken, which is a Japanese concealed weapon used by ninjas and samurais as a hidden dagger or projectile. Again, similar to that throwing knife, so it will be interesting to know what distinction each tool has in the game, as each of them actually could be used for a variety of different purposes. Speaking of which, we don't have any news on Yasuke's character-centric weapons at the moment, but as he was known to be about 6'2" and a well-built man, as documented in historical records of that time period, I would not at all be surprised if we could equip a huge two-handed katana to do some significant damage to enemies as a kind of brute character, as well as being able to equip larger pole arms or heavy weapons, so we can kind of take advantage of both styles of gameplay in this game through both of those playable characters, that either being a stealth-centric playthrough via Naoe or a full-blown hacking and slashing combat experience via Yasuke. And that's a great segue onto enemies and combat details now, because one of the most exciting things that I've personally heard out of all of these rumors and leaks is that the game will continue on the brutality front from Valhalla, where Japan will be bloodier with a lot more decapitation and gore, according to Tom Henderson, which will allow for a more immersive and authentic experience in this pretty ferocious and brutal time period. Speaking of which, according to Jonathan, it looks like the Ashigaru enemies will be in the game as well, and they were armed with the Tanegashimas, which were matchlock guns introduced to the Japanese by the European Portuguese Empire. Now, we've been been able to equip guns in the AC series before, of course, so this isn't entirely new, but I do wonder if we will be able to kind of wield our own firearm in this time period, or perhaps even kill an enemy with their loaded matchlock gun as a kind of kill cutscene, which I think would be pretty cool, especially with this kind of next gen and engine upgrade, but more on that shortly, because Jonathan also mentioned from his sources that there will be a posture bar mechanic similar to the game Sekiro, and how that works is that enemies will both have health and posture bars on the screen, and if you manage to fill up an enemy's posture bar, you'll then be able to perform a shinobi death blow, which does massive damage and is kind of like a instant kill on certain enemies that kind of allow it. And the same mechanic applies to us though, so it will be really interesting to see how this works in Red across both characters. Now, before we do move on to stealth details, I just want to show you what I did to this wallet that Ridge sent me through the post, which have become pretty iconic wallets at this point, thanks to its super minimalist and indestructible design, which I tested by driving my car over it as soon as they sent me one, by the way, which is just a completely normal thing to do. And it pretty much shrugged it off, which was really impressive, actually. But what I also like about it is it can hold up to 12 of your cards, which you can whip out by pressing this small latch here, and you can also add a cash clip and a coin tray as optional attachments, so you're covering all monetary bases whilst it also remains super slim in your pocket, unlike the big chunky dad style leather wallets that I've had up until this point, which is quite shameful. There's also 30 different colors and styles to choose from, like the carbon fiber and the burnt Damascus wallets I've got here, which have got this pretty slick color gradient burnt right across it, and both of them feel super awesome, weighty and high quality to hold. Ridge are also offering you up to 30% off your order if you buy a wallet with a key case, which no bamboozles here, and not to be melodramatic, this has actually changed my life, as you can simply add your keys onto this small minimalist case which fits wonderfully into my pocket now, and I no longer stab myself in the leg with my large metal ball of keys that I had before. In fact, Ridge is so confident in their gear, they are offering you a 365-day free test drive with a full refund if you don't like it, no questions asked. So if you want to give it a whirl, you can get up to 30% off for a limited time, as they are running their 11-year anniversary deal at the moment. So go to ridge.com/AndyReloads to automatically get the best deal added to your basket in checkout, and I will pop that link down below underneath the like button. And cheers to Ridge for supporting the channel. Now, stealth, it's been a contentious issue since Valhalla, and I've got to say, in my 400 plus hours spent in that game,
What did you say?
it's one of the biggest criticisms I have of it, that being the stealth detection system specifically. And as Jonathan went on to mention in his recent video, the team are focusing on improving this system, where we'll be able to make use of the available darkness in certain areas by hiding in the shadows as guards patrol past, as well as being able to lie flat or prone on the ground and then crawl through the grass to stalk or sneak up on enemies. This reminds me of what Marc-Alexis Côté mentioned about the environment becoming more challenging and complex for us to use, and I wouldn't at all be surprised that as the weather seasons change in game, that same patch of grass or field of crops that we've crawled through in the summer or spring wouldn't then be there in the winter. And if that is indeed the case, where the environment really does evolve with the weather system, subsequently opening up new gameplay opportunities and options, that would be pretty impressive. But that's purely enthusiastic speculation from me there. But I've got to say, what Jonathan mentions about this upcoming spy system does sound pretty fantastic, where across the map there will of course be numerous bandit camps for us to kind of get our teeth into. And actually, whilst I'm on this topic, all those map markers that we've seen in previous games have been reduced apparently, and that's because they want to make the game more explorative rather than having 400 icons on your screen, which can become a little bit tedious and overwhelming, or kind of feel like a second job going from point A to point B all the time. So if there is a reduction, I very much welcome that in this game. But inside each camp there will be a commander, which isn't again anything massively new in an AC game, but what does seem to be new here is the option to either kill or spare this commander after you defeat him. Now, if you decide to kill him, you'll take everything out of his chest and all the loot that he holds, but if you spare him, he'll become an informant or a spy for you, where he will then provide you with the information on your next mission or side mission that you currently have active. And that also makes me think that the quest or missions that we have in game will run in a very similar fashion to that of AC Mirage recently, where we have to investigate and build and collect up a lot of clues to get to our target, instead of a quest which essentially says go here, go there, kill this person, return to camp. So it's encouraging to hear if this is indeed a mechanic in this game. And with Jonathan's track record, I am quite confident that it is, unless there's some significant internal development changes or delay before release. Now, as an OG AC fan, one of my favorite mechanics in the old games was pretty simple, actually. It was just being able to pop my weapons and armor on the weapons rack in Villa Auditore and renovating the whole city in AC Unity. I just really enjoyed it. In fact, we did get a bit of a taste of this in Valhalla with the settlement building mechanic, and towards the end of its lifespan, we did actually pick up an armory update where we could store our armor sets on certain racks as well as our weapons, and it seems like Ubisoft are going to include something similar and a little bit more detailed here in Red, as Tom Henderson recently reported that we'll be able to build our own hideout in Japan. That's actually what it's specifically called, apparently, a hideout, where we'll be able to have the option to construct our own armory, dojo, and altar. Now, he didn't specify what each one is for, and I'd love to hear your thoughts and ideas about them individually in the comments, but all of these buildings are customizable, apparently, where we'll even be able to pick the building location, choosing its roof and wall designs, where we can really put on show what we've acquired in-game. And the most recent example I can think of this happening in an open world game is in Hogwarts Legacy, actually, in the Room of Requirement, where there is a vast amount of customization available in regard to building and creating a unique place to kind of hang out and customize as you wish in game, which would be awesome to actually finally have full reign over in a Assassin's Hideout and a AAA Assassin's Creed game. I can't wait for that. I know it's something small, but bring it on, I say. Now, Marc-Alexis Côté, the executive director, has stated that this will be the very first Assassin's Creed game to release on current gen consoles, so only on the PS5, Xbox Series, X and S, and PC. But something that will be a little bit different with the launch of this game compared to other AC games is that it will be releasing on this hub or platform called Affinity, which you may have heard of, which means you won't be able to play Assassin's Creed Red without first downloading this Infinity hub. Now, the overarching goal of this platform is that it will tie all strands of all the Assassin's Creed series together across multiple games in a live service format, with Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillemot stating in a earnings report in 2022 that this platform will not be free to play. In fact, he said that this platform will have lots of narrative elements in it that already exist in the games that Ubisoft have published in the past, and it will be very innovative and will have everything that us, the players, already have in the current Assassin's Creed games. Now, that all does sound a little opaque and quite confusing, but don't worry, I've got a full breakdown on what we know so far about Infinity, which should be popping up on your screen right now, so give that a click and I'll see you there in a second. But if it's not uploaded yet, make sure you do subscribe so you can find your way back here to the channel easily, as I'll also be covering this game from start to finish, just like I did with Assassin's Creed Valhalla, where I think I made about 300 videos or so on that game. So it would be great to have you along for the ride on this big boy brand new one as well. Thanks to Nika for helping me make this video. Sake is on her, I think, and I shall see you in that next video in just a moment.